Max Verstappen, a driver of unparalleled talent, finds himself in an unprecedented battle this season, not just against his rivals, but against his own team, the sport's governing body, and the very fabric of Formula One itself. Max Verstappen is an F1 driver who has endured immense pressure and challenges from a young age. Accounts suggest a childhood of intense scrutiny and demanding expectations, including being left at a petrol station as a teenager. He was thrust into Formula One at just 17, experiencing a near-fatal crash, and joined Red Bull in 2016, a team renowned for its intense environment. In 2020, he began dating Kelly Piquet, also stepping into a parental role for her child. According to Adrian Newey himself, Max faced considerable criticism throughout his early career. What I'm trying to convey is that Max Verstappen has navigated through incredibly difficult circumstances. Perhaps not to the extent of some past drivers, but these experiences likely forged him into the formidable racing machine he is today. He's often perceived as a racing robot, a testament to the relentless pressure he has faced. Yet, despite his extraordinary talent and resilience, Max continues to face a barrage of obstacles, even to this very day. However, the 2024 season has intensified these challenges dramatically, as Max now finds himself isolated, seemingly pitted against everyone else. One might wonder why I claim Max is alone, given he has an entire team and a teammate. The reality is, one of his primary adversaries is Red Bull itself. While it's not a direct confrontation, he constantly battles to prevent his own team from undermining his efforts this season. Red Bull, throughout its history and particularly in 2024, has been characterized by internal disarray. Known for being a demanding, ruthless, and controversial organization, Max has dedicated his entire career to them, only to face considerable disappointment as their internal issues have seemingly worsened this season. To illustrate the extent of this team's dysfunction, I've compiled a list of issues contributing to Red Bull's current tumultuous environment. Christian Horner has faced allegations of inappropriate conduct. Helmut Marko has been accused of making discriminatory remarks. Adrian Newey, along with several other key Red Bull personnel, has departed the team. Jos Verstappen's public actions have also drawn attention. Then there's Sergio Perez, a driver seemingly prone to crashing the RB20 in nearly every other race weekend. His performance has led to wild speculation regarding his continued presence in the sport. While sponsorship is the conventional explanation, more sensational theories suggest Checo might possess compromising information on Christian Horner, or even that an external organization controls Red Bull, using the team for undisclosed dealings. Personally, I find the more outlandish theories quite intriguing, especially given some of the unusual situations that have arisen within F1. To put Red Bull's 2024 struggles into perspective, I've also outlined Alpine's numerous missteps, including their 3 team principal changes, countless on-track blunders, the shutdown of their engine manufacturing program, and the current state of their leadership. Yet, even Alpine's challenges pale in comparison to the chaos at Red Bull. This season, Red Bull's internal turmoil has created significant competitive disadvantages, forcing Max to drive a car described as a tractor due to ongoing development issues since Barcelona 2023. These problems were initially highlighted by Sergio Perez but were reportedly ignored, and are now severely impacting the team's performance. This, of course, does not excuse Sergio Perez's frequent incidents with the barriers, which often result in significant damage, such as a battered rear wing. Our esteemed Mexican driver is also responsible for many of Red Bull's other disadvantages this season. These include leaving Max isolated in races, making him vulnerable in the Drivers' Championship, and contributing to Red Bull losing their lead in the Constructors' Championship, which McLaren is now poised to seize. McLaren represents another significant threat Max Verstappen must contend with, and thanks to Red Bull's shortcomings, he's effectively facing them with a severe handicap. Max is now embroiled in a tense title fight against Lando, Norris and McLaren, yet he stands virtually alone. The Singapore Grand Prix vividly illustrated this imbalance. In qualifying, Lando and Oscar Piastri consistently delivered strong laps, proving to be the fastest duo, securing P1 and P5 respectively. While Max also showed pace, pulling his Red Bull tractor into second. Sergio Perez failed to advance beyond Q2, finishing a significant 0.210 seconds behind a Williams. During the race, Lando dominated, Oscar recovered to P3, and Max maintained second place, while Perez lingered far behind, unable to assist Max in his title challenge. This left Red Bull with an even larger deficit to McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, and Lando's victory brought him into closer striking distance of Verstappen in the driver standings. Max genuinely faces every competitive disadvantage in this title fight. Lando has Oscar as a capable teammate, an exceptionally performing car, and a team that, while not flawless, provides him with essential support. In stark contrast, Max has no one to aid him on track. His RB20 is metaphorically a lawnmower disguised as an F1 car, and his team is in disarray. Yet, despite the intensity of this battle, it pales in comparison to another formidable adversary Max has encountered, the FIA. This season, Verstappen is not only contending with McLaren but also with the sport's governing body. Prior to the Singapore Grand Prix, during the FIA Thursday press conference, he was questioned about his car's performance at a previous race where he struggled to score points, and where Sergio Perez had another significant incident. Max responded by describing his car's state: "I went into qualifying, I knew the car was." He was then cautioned about his language. Max subsequently expressed his frustration, stating, "I mean the car was not working, the car is awful," questioning the severity of such language, implying it's an overreaction to expect perfect decorum from adult drivers, and defiantly declared his intention to continue speaking candidly. The FIA reacted with extreme displeasure. Just hours after the press conference, it was revealed that Max Verstappen was summoned to the steward's room and handed multiple hours of community service for using a profanity. This decision struck many as absurd, particularly given the context. Banning such expressions, especially from a driver like Max Verstappen, feels akin to stifling his very personality and authenticity. The FIA's recent crackdown on language is attributed to its president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, or MBS. He is spearheading efforts to reduce bad language broadcast in F1, a change many feel was unsolicited. This, however, is merely the surface of the issues surrounding MBS. He is widely perceived as an overly self-important figure aiming to be the public face of Formula One, and has been involved in numerous controversies. These include reportedly crashing a Renault F1 car in 2009 after allegedly disregarding team advice, despite being a 14-time Middle East Rally champion, an incident that humorously implied he crashed within 2 seconds of driving in a straight line. He has also had several public disagreements with Lewis Hamilton without clear cause, displayed what was described as unusual familiarity with Oscar Piastri until Piastri reportedly expressed discomfort, and is now seemingly escalating a conflict with Max Verstappen by penalizing him for using a mild expletive. Allow me to pause for a moment. While acknowledging that strong language can be inappropriate, I urge the FIA and MBS to consider this. Such words are often a form of raw expression. By stripping drivers of this, you diminish their ability to convey genuine emotion. Formula One is a sport where drivers risk their lives. Why this sudden push for hyperpolitical correctness? Furthermore, the FIA's hypocrisy is glaring. They permit racing in countries with questionable human rights records, allow gambling sponsors on cars that are broadcast to children, and sanction oil and tobacco companies sponsoring teams. Yet, a single expletive is met with severe penalties. It's an absolute travesty. The fact that MBS and the FIA might enforce this rule with impunity is deeply unjust. The FIA's history is replete with such perplexing decisions, making it increasingly difficult to take them seriously. However, after the Singapore Grand Prix, a collective voice finally rose against them. During the post-race press conference, Max Verstappen subtly retaliated against the FIA by offering deliberately terse responses as a form of protest. When asked about changes that improved his performance, he simply replied, "I might get fined." Asked how long he would continue this, he stated, "I'm answering, it's not a problem with my voice." Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris also voiced their criticism of the FIA, supporting Max Hamilton called it pretty unfair, and Norris added, "I don't agree with any of it. I think it's a bit of a joke to be honest. This is the pinnacle of the sport, mistakes are made." The most remarkable outcome is that nearly every F1 fan on social media is now critiquing the FIA, and especially MBS, for what many see as absurd behavior. You know you've made a significant misstep when the Orange Army, Max's fans, Team LH, Hamilton's fans, and the Papaya Army, McLaren's fans, set aside their rivalries to unite against you. So, thank you, MBS, for inadvertently bringing the F1 community together in shared disapproval. Despite Max Verstappen's apparent victory against the FIA, he still faces another potential threat, Ferrari. I initially hesitated to include Ferrari in this discussion, as they often seem more of a threat to themselves than to anyone else. However, they are positioned closely behind Red Bull and McLaren. This means that if Red Bull falters a few more times, and if Ferrari manages to avoid their characteristic self-sabotage for the remainder of the season, they could become a serious contender against Max. Nevertheless, their odds of winning are not as high as McLaren's, not merely due to the point deficit, but also because of what I've termed the Ferrari equation. After extensive analysis, I've formulated it as follows: 1 Charles Leclerc victory equals all the luck in the world, plus the top 5 drivers experiencing a slump. Should Ferrari achieve these two conditions, another title could be within their grasp. This is, however, a double-edged sword, as 1 Leclerc win often correlates with a disastrous weekend for the entire team in the near future. We've witnessed this pattern. Charles's Monaco victory was followed by a double DNF for Ferrari in Canada, and his Monza win preceded a team blunder in Singapore. Furthermore, for every 2 strong weekends the team enjoys, 1 poor weekend inevitably follows. If Ferrari could only find balance and master these equations, they could genuinely challenge the competition. But knowing their history, I merely hope they don't implode. And speaking of teams that seem to be imploding, let's revisit Red Bull, as I'm not quite finished with them. As previously mentioned, Max Verstappen left Singapore with Lando Norris having gained more points, placing Max in a precarious position to defend his title, as McLaren holds every advantage. However, Max did not leave that weekend completely empty-handed. Daniel Ricciardo, from the Visa Cash App RB team, the same driver who once defeated Max Verstappen in equal machinery before his career took a different turn, snatched the fastest lap point from Lando on the final lap of the race. This critical point allowed Max to potentially finish second in all remaining races this season and still win the championship by a single point. And what did Red Bull do to Daniel? They dismissed him. Of all the personnel Red Bull could have let go, they chose to remove the one individual who genuinely assisted Max. It's an incredibly perplexing decision, especially considering Daniel Ricciardo has arguably been more helpful to Max this season than his actual teammate. While I can understand Red Bull's decision from a performance perspective, perhaps Liam Lawson is seen as a better long-term fit, it's the manner in which they handle Daniel's departure that truly frustrates. Firstly, it took an excessively long time to officially announce his departure, leaving him to address speculation about his future in emotional race interviews. Secondly, they reportedly informed Daniel of his sacking only a day before his final race. And thirdly, Red Bull offered hardly any proper goodbyes, even their social media team remained largely silent. In contrast, Mercedes publicly thanked Daniel for being a solid competitor, and Alpine, despite their own internal circus, extended their regards and appreciation for his past contributions to their team. Red Bull and Visa Cash App RB, however, merely responded with 2 heart emojis. So, with Red Bull in disarray after firing the one driver who genuinely aided Max, McLaren emerging as a stable and faster rival, Ferrari lingering as a hopeful contender, and the FIA enacting perplexing rules, Max Verstappen must confront all these teams and organizations virtually alone. And what has he been doing amidst all this pressure? Playing Minecraft. He's in one of the most high-pressure situations imaginable, yet he's engrossed in gaming. It showcases his remarkable composure. If you're watching this, Max, I highly recommend building that popular contraption in Minecraft and naming the sheep after Mohammed Ben Sulayem, Christian Horner, or Helmut Marko, or all of them simultaneously. These individuals genuinely need to understand the impact of their decisions, especially the FIA with their utterly misguided rule banning certain expressions. To conclude on a positive note, and in case the FIA doesn't reverse this rule anytime soon, I've taken the initiative to devise some alternative expressions. For instance, instead of a common expletive of frustration, you could say, I give up. Instead of another, you could say, Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Instead of a strong term for misfortune, you might say, Lance Stroll. And when describing a car's poor performance, instead of saying it's terrible, you could instead say, my name is Toto Wolff from Drive to Survive Season 5, Episode 2. Finally, my favorite, instead of describing a large, controlling organization that imposes rules nobody cares about, you could simply say, the FIA. Thank you so much for watching.